أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد. المعقد الحادي عشر صيانة العلم عما يشين مما يخالف المروءة ويخرمها. صيانة العلم, protecting knowledge, عما, from that which, yashinu, which disgraces it, which dishonors it. So preserving knowledge, protecting knowledge from anything that disgraces it, and anything from what is in opposition to it, the ilm and everything that it demands of a person. So مما يخالف المروءة ويخرمها. This chapter is essentially centered around this one term called al-muru'ah. Okay, al-muru'ah. And this is a very common term, normally referred to by students of knowledge when they want to advise one another for a misconduct that has occurred from one party and the other advises them against it, for example. Okay, so mimma, from that which, yukhalifu, which opposes al-muru'ah. Al-muru'ah is morality, dignity, or virtuous character. All of these words can be used to describe this word. Al-muru'ah essentially is something that is seen from you when you appear in public, for example. And when people see you, your appearance, everything about you, the way you carry yourself, the way you behave, the way you speak, the way you sit down, everything about you is essentially a direct window into your ilm, or your heart that hosts that ilm. Okay, so al-muru'ah essentially is that virtuous character, or that dignity or morality, sort of, that is the embodiment of a person who is somewhat indulged in some ilm, the ilm of the deen. Okay, a scholar, a talib al-ilm, anyone who is connected even remotely to the science of this, to the sciences of this religion, to the ilm of tawheed, aqidah. A person develops a sort of a responsibility to protect it, and the way the person protects it is through this upright and dignified personality, aura. Okay, so al-muru'ah essentially is the dignified aura of a person in public. So protecting ilm from that which disgraces it, and the demonstration, the physical demonstration of that in a person in public is his muru'ah, the way the aura that he carries with him. And so protecting knowledge from everything that opposes al-muru'ah, so this dignified aura or morality or virtuous character, وَيَخْرِمُهَا, and undermines it. Okay, خَرَمَ يَخْرِمُ, undermine, to undermine something, to disregard something, anything from the mischaracter of a person that could be a cause of people looking down upon ilm as a whole, subhanAllah, just because of a person's character. So in any case, inshallah, from that heading we learn that today's topic essentially is about how you practice your knowledge. Okay, how you practice your knowledge in public. So this chapter is going to emphasize the importance of safeguarding the integrity and honor of ilm, this ilm of Allah Azza wa Jal, by avoiding behaviors or actions that could potentially diminish its value or respectability or honor in public. So it implies that those who possess knowledge, even if it's a little bit, even if it's one single ayah that they possess in their hearts, it implies that those who possess knowledge should conduct themselves in a way that upholds its dignity, so that it upholds the honor of this knowledge. Subhanallah. Okay, so we've defined al-muru'ah, inshaAllah, and everyone is clear on the meaning of it, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay, so the importance of maintaining ethical conduct in all aspects of life is the heading, is the title or the topic of this chapter. The Shaykh says, "Man lam yasun al-ilma, lam yasunhu al-ilm." Subhanallah. Whoever lam yasun, does not protect, does not safeguard or preserve al-ilm, knowledge, lam yasunhu al-ilm, this ilm will not protect him. What does it mean by the ilm will not protect him? It will be of no use to him. His heart will be blackened, it will be a stamp on his heart, and he will not be able to retrieve guidance from the ilm that he learns. It will be merely like the load on the camel's on a donkey's back, where the donkey has no idea what it's carrying. So the ilm will just be a burden on you as opposed to a favor and blessing upon you. كما قال الشافعي رحمه الله, as Imam Shafi'i رحمه الله said. And the Shaykh says, وَمَنْ أَخَلَّ بِالْمُرُؤَةِ بِالْوُقُوعِ فِيمَا يَشِينُ فَقَدْ اسْتَخَفَّ بِالْعِلْمِ. Whoever violates or compromises this muru'ah, this virtue, this aura of dignity that a talib al-ilm, a scholar, a Muslim carries with him because he possesses some of that knowledge that Allah has bestowed him with, to violate, and whoever violates or compromises this muru'ah bil-wuqu'i, by falling into fima yashinu, in that which disgraces it, faqad istakhaffa bil-ilm, they have disregarded this knowledge, they have belittled this knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal. فَلَمْ يُعَظِّمْهُ, so, and he has not venerated it, rather he has violated, disregarded, belittled this knowledge as opposed to its ta'zeem. So فَلَمْ يُعَظِّمْهُ, he has not venerated this knowledge, he has not exalted this knowledge. وَوَقَعَ فِي الْبَطَّالَةِ, and he has effectively fallen into al-battala. Al-battala refers to wastefulness, idleness, inactivity, right? It suggests that the person becomes unproductive or inactive, engaging in idle activities or laziness or negligent behavior, right? Ideally, so essentially conveying a sense of neglecting one's responsibilities or one's duties, rather. Okay, so the person who disregards his muru'ah, his behavior, the way he presents or carries himself, he or she carries themselves, and as a way of that they disregard or discredit, dishonor, disgrace this knowledge, and they belittle this knowledge because of the way they carry themselves by their misconduct in public. They will eventually fall into al-battala, right? Neglecting their duties. فَتُفْضِي بِهِ الْحَالُ إِلَى زَوَالِ اسْمِ الْعِلْمِ عَنْهُ أعوذ بالله من ذلك نعوذ بالله من ذلك. Al-hal, i.e. this present state of his, whoever engages in these khawarim al-muru'ah, these things that dishonor a person, his aura of dignity, anything that thrashes it, this state of his, tufdi bihi, it will lead him towards a very, very denigrating and disgraceful end, i.e. zawal ism al-ilm yahnu. Allah would snatch this title of ilm associated with him, Allah will snatch it from him. Even in the eyes of people, he will not be able to sustain a facade of a false image of a scholar or a talib al-ilm, and Allah will expose him to the people for who he is. So Allah Azza wa Jal will snatch the name of ilm from him. subhanallah. This title of knowledge that has been associated with him because of his misconduct. قال وهب بن منبه رحمه الله, he said, لا يكون البطال من الحكماء. And Wahb ibn Munabbih is one of the tabi'een. He's the student of Abu Hurairah, and his treatise that he narrates from Abu Hurairah directly, it is the oldest collection of ahadith found in our literature, as in written, that is directly written from a Sahabi. Okay, as in when we look at different types of proof in the codification of our history, of our hadith and our texts, we have the Quran, and that is out of question, of course, because the Quran has been so well preserved in written form, as well as so there's an archaeological proof to that, as well as the testimonial proof in terms of the isnad and the chain of narrations and so on and so forth. But with the ahadith, the Orientalists, they created these lies, they fabricated these lies that the hadith literature did not get codified until 100 years or 200 years later. And of course this was a lie. Imam Zuhri, who's Imam Malik's teacher, and he was alive even before Malik, of course, and Imam Malik was just at the dawn of the 100 years of Islam, of Hijri, and that is only between the roughly the 80 years after the death of the Prophet. So Imam Zuhri is one of the tabi'een, right? And he has recorded he recorded hadith, and before him, anyway, subhanallah, Wahb ibn Munabbih, his sahifa was found in Germany by one of the Pakistani scholars, and so this became a headline, mashallah, and this went on to discredit the theories of the Orientalists about Islam and the preservation of Sunnah as well, going to show that the Sahaba, they were narrating a hadith, and their narrations were written directly by the Tabi'een, and Wahb ibn Munabbih, his sahifa, his treatise, is direct evidence of it, subhanAllah. So he said this, لا يكون البطال من الحكماء, a person who is inactive, idle, someone who neglects their responsibilities, he will never be from the hukama, from the wise men, from the wise people. He will never achieve or attain wisdom, subhanAllah. And the hikmah that he's speaking of is the hikmah of the deen, true wisdom in the religion, the fiqh. So anyone who neglects their responsibilities, neglects the huge responsibility that lies on their shoulders, carrying this noble knowledge upon in their hearts, anyone who neglects that, belittles that favor of Allah, he will never attain true wisdom. وجماع المروءة كما قاله ابن تيمية الجد في المحرر وتبعه حفيده في بعض فتاواه استعمال ما يجمله ويزينه وتجنب ما يدنسه ويشينه. جماع المروءة, so the essence of this muru'ah, or this dignified aura, or a virtue of a person, this noble conduct of a person, the essence of it, as Ibn Taymiyyah, the grandfather, in his book Al-Muharrar, and his grandson, the Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he said in some of his fatawa, the essence of virtue, the essence of al-muru'ah is استعمال ما يجمله ويزينه. It's to adopt or to practice what beautifies it, what adorns it. وتجنب ما يدنسه ويشينه. وتجنب, and avoiding that which يدنسه, it makes it dirty, ويشينه, and disgraces it. Okay, so the essence of virtue essentially, and as we've defined the virtue here as the conduct of a talib al-ilm and a scholar and a Muslim who has ilm with them, the way they garnish this muru'ah, let alone how they acquire it in the first place, is to continue to practice or adopt those behaviors and conducts that beautify this aura of a person. And this can only be achieved when a person practices what he learns, that he acts upon his knowledge. And acting upon knowledge is what beautifies the character of a person. And when he is in public, he takes extra care of representing the ilm that he carries in his heart. So he is extra careful in the way he talks, the way he presents himself in the public, the way he sits down, and so on and so forth, the way he interacts with people, the way he speaks even. Everything is reflective of the knowledge that he holds in his heart. So if anyone who is known to be a talib al-ilm, if he is going to, going back to the behavior and good conduct, adab al-talab, having good mannerisms, anyone who is known amongst people to be a talib al-ilm, when he does not carry himself in the best possible manner, in a manner that his ilm teaches him in the first place, if he doesn't follow it, if he doesn't act upon it, of course the people are going to belittle not just himself, but rather his ilm as well. So he's the ambassador of the ilm that he carries. When he does not practice what he preaches, when he's not going to act upon his knowledge, then people are definitely going to be, they're going to turn their backs upon this knowledge because of the character of this person. By way of his conduct, or misconduct rather, people will garner ill thoughts about this ilm. They will lose the value of it in their heart. Okay, so it's a huge responsibility that you carry on your shoulders when you learn this knowledge. قيل لأبي محمد سفيان بن عيينة, and Sufyan ibn Uyayna is one of the teachers of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, from the fuqaha of Mecca. It was said to him, قد استنبطت من القرآن كل شيء فأين المروءة فيه? Indeed, you have extracted from the Quran everything. فأين المروءة فيه? Where is this muru'ah that the ulama speak of? Where is this muru'ah? This whole idea of carrying yourself in a dignified manner, walking the talk, presenting yourself, the ilm that you carry in a noble way, so that people, when they look at you, they're reminded of Allah Azza wa Jal. All of that is from the muru'ah of a person. Where is it in the Quran? فقال, so he said to him, في قوله تعالى, in the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. خذ العفو. Take, that is extra. I'm going to literally translate this because there's a few tafasir for this. وأمر بالعرف, and command with that which is acceptable, which is good. وأعرض عن الجاهلين, and turn away from those who are ignorant. So the ulama, they mentioned that this khudil afwa has many different meanings. One of the meanings that has been given to this is أي خذ ما عفا لك من أموالهم. Whatever is surplus from the wealth of the Muslims, take that as a sadaqah for the other Muslims, for the Bayt al-Mal, for example. وما أتوك به من شيء فخذه. Whatever they give you as a sadaqah for the Muslimin, because the Prophet himself was not allowed to take the sadaqah for himself, for his family, right? He can't accept charity. And the same for his family, the Sayyid family, the family of the Prophet, all of them, even until today, they can't accept charity. So وَمَا أَتُوكَ بِهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَخُذْهُ. Whatever they bring you of charity to be spent on other Muslims and so on and so forth, take it and spend it on it, right? And this was, of course, before the Surah Tawbah, in which Allah Azza wa Jal revealed a change of ahkam, and where Allah Azza wa Jal also gave the Prophet ﷺ a khumus from the wealth of the war, and so on and so forth. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, he narrates, explaining this word, khudh al-afwa, he said, أي أنفق الفضل. Whatever is surplus for you, from your wealth, Ya Muhammad, spend it. أنفق. Okay, أنفق الفضل. أي خذ العفو, I take or follow the path of al-afu. Al-afu is, as it comes in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ قُلِ الْعَفُوِ. They ask you what they should spend in the path of Allah. Say to them, al-afu, whatever is surplus. Okay, so أنفق الفضل, spend whatever is surplus. In any case, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, being a faqih, rahimahullah, he says, فَفِيهِ الْمُرُوَةِ. in this ayah is muru'ah, wa husnul adab, wa makarimul akhlaq. For in this it is muru'ah, wa husnul adab, the best of mannerisms, etiquettes, wa makarimul akhlaq, and the most virtuous and the most noblest of the etiquettes. Subhanallah. So when Allah says خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأَمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ, all of this is part of muru'ah. How you spend and deal with people's money, for example. Okay, so essentially one of the ulama of tafsir they mention in this the way this ayah, the way it's being used to make istinbat is أي خذ العفو أي معاملة الناس بالإحسان وترك التشدد معهم في كل ما يتعلق بالحقوق المالية والتخلق بالخلق الطيب وترك الغلظة التي أشار الله عز وجل إليها في قوله تعالى فبما رحمة من الله لنت لهم. So dealing with the people with goodness, with the best behavior, with the best etiquettes, and leaving off hardness and being strict and being overly pushy in terms of scolding and so on. So leaving off all kinds of harsh mannerisms. So dealing with the people in a nice and befitting manner, in a beautiful manner, and leaving off all kinds of tashaddud, any kinds of extreme, intense or harsh behavior with them. With everything that concerns their rights as human beings, anything to do with their wealth, and from their human to human behavior, okay, daily mu'amalat, and anything to do with how the people are dealt with, you deal with them in a nice manner and leave being harsh. As Allah says in the فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, it is with the mercy of Allah that you were lenient for them. لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, that you were lenient for them, you were soft for them. If it wasn't for that, had you been hard-hearted, stricter, they would have run away from you. SubhanAllah, they would have run away from you. They would have, departed from your company. They wouldn't have come and sat with you. It's only because of this muru'ah. Okay, now look at this as istidlal. It is because of your muru'ah, how you presented yourself, how you carried yourself amongst your Sahaba and the people of Mecca, that even before you were made a prophet, you were the Sadiqul Ameen. You were the trustworthy and the truthful one amongst them. Okay? So خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ, command with goodness. You still have to command the people with the upright behavior. You still have to turn away from the juhala, from the ignorant people. You don't argue them, and all of that is part of your muru'ah. All of that is part of how you carry this ilm with you. So when we see this muru'ah if you want to speak about this muru'ah in the du'at that we see in today's day and age, you find them casually laughing on camera, joking on camera, doing inappropriate things on camera, many things that are just beyond, like we couldn't have imagined this kind of behavior from du'at, from the ulama that we learn from, for example, right? And we've seen so-called du'at, so-called experts in da'wah, coming on screen and presenting themselves in a way which is just outright against the muru'ah of this deen and the knowledge that they represent, laughing out like jokers, and just being so casual on camera. SubhanAllah, Imam Zuhri, rahimahullah, once he was with his companions, the Mujaddideen, and they were in a private gathering in the house, and they were laughing like friends can do, right? Sometimes, and they heard the footsteps of someone from outside approaching the door, and Imam Zuhri, he asked everyone to quiet down, like to stop their laughter and behave themselves, right? And essentially to put down the laughter. SubhanAllah, right? So the ulama, they use this to say that the ulama were cautious of how they presented themselves in the public, right? It is because of the ilm that they carry. Their hayba, their aura has to be one of dignity, has to be one of almost a sort of a charm that you have on other people, right? And when people see you engaging in activities which are rather unbefitting of someone who carries ilm in his heart, of course they're not going to be attracted to you. So your da'wah only remains a da'wah of words. It's not the da'wah of character, the da'wah of tawheed that carries the seriousness with it. It carries amal with it. It carries a lot of weight, the haiba with it. And that is transmitted just through the behavior. It doesn't take words to convey that. How many people convert to Islam even without any argumentation? Just because of the person, when they see the first person that comes in contact with them, their behavior attracts them, right? This is the muru'ah. Your behavior attracts the non-Muslims. Your behavior attracts those who are not practicing from the Muslims. It is your behavior what brings hearts closer to Islam. So muru'ah is essentially the heart of your practical appearance in public. This is how you safeguard this knowledge in public. And anyone who disregards this has disregarded knowledge, and Allah will dishonor him sooner or later. Ma'adallah. The Shaykh concludes this chapter by saying, وَمِنْ أَلْزَمِ أَدَبِ النَّفْسِ لِلطَّالِبِ تَحَلِّيهِ بِالْمُرُوءَةِ. From the most important etiquettes of the nafs, of the soul, for the student of knowledge, that he must adhere to all the time, is تَحَلِّيهِ بِالْمُرُوءَةِ, is to adorn the self with al-muru'ah, وَمَا يَحْمِلُ عَلَيْهَا, and whatever helps it upon it. وتنكبه خوارمها التي تخل بها Allahu Akbar. So adorning the self with al-muru'ah, and what leads or what takes it upon, or whatever leads it upon, or encourages the self upon this muru'ah, this good character or virtue. وَتَنَكُّبُهُ خَوَارِمَهَا, and its avoidance, so avoiding this, the avoidance of the self, anything that undermines, or the things that undermine this muru'ah, التي تخل بها, that undermine its virtue. So avoiding the things that undermine the virtue, or that undermine this dignity, this honor, this muru'ah. So adorning yourself with everything that leads towards it, and avoiding everything from all the things that are against it. Now the Shaykh is going to give you some examples of what are against this, like كحلق اللحية, shaving the beard, أو كثرة الالتفات في الطريق, like turning aside or being distracted on the path. I'll explain this in a second. أو مد الرجلين في مجمع الناس, or spreading your legs in the gathering of people. من غير حاجة ولا ضرورة داعية, without a need, a specific need, ولا ضرورة داعية, or an unavoidable circumstance that is pushing you to spread your legs in amongst the people. أو صحبة الأراذل والفساق والمجان والبطالين, or the suhbah, the company of those who are unworthy. والفساق, open sinners. والمجان, those who are vulgar. والبطالين, those who are inactive, idle, negligent of their responsibility. أو مصارعة الأحداث والصغار, engaging in everything small and big in terms of the circumstances, talking about it, wrestling with it, to make yourself a participant in everything that is small and big, without thinking as to what is important for a talib al-ilm to indulge in, and what things to avoid. So inshallah. Now let's go back to this. The Shaykh is going to give you some examples. كحلق لحيته, كحلق لحيته, shaving the beard. طيب. Now this is from the outer appearances of a man. The same would go for a sister, that she takes off her niqab or hijab, or she wears immodest clothing, whatever the case may be in that, right? The man, the ulama, they don't like wearing the clothes of the non-Muslims, for example, okay? And it's to do with the culture, of course. In Pakistan, we're in a Muslim country, the ulama, they avoid wearing the clothes of the non-Muslims at all costs, because this is considered to be a khawarim al-muru'ah. Some of these things, yes, of course, they will be dependent on the people you're in, and that is what the muru'ah is. Muru'ah essentially is, as we said, that what people see of you, right? What people see of you from your the way you carry yourself. So a lot of it comes down to people as well. Some things are going to be those which are definitely haram, and you doing them in public will definitely earn you disgrace and definitely earn you disrespect. But some things are which are not essentially haram, but the people of the land, they would not expect those kind of things from ulama. And when they see you do those things, they will definitely not respect you. They will definitely not respect the ilm that you carry, or of course the ilm itself. So by saying halqi lihyatihi, the shaykh, he's just pointing at everything that is to do with your physical appearance, in terms of the way you are dressed, or the way you present yourself essentially in public. Okay, so shaving your beard and not wearing a hijab or niqab even, and things like that. When you're a talib al-ilm, you are on a higher pedestal than anyone else. Things which are just mustahab or good for others, they are almost as if they are wajib upon you. For anything that is mustahab for anyone else, they are wajib upon you, they are obligatory upon you, because you have to, not technically obligatory in the sharia sense, but because of the ilm that you carry, you have to treat them as wajib. Okay, because you are on a higher pedestal. Just like Allah Azza wa Jal, He obligated the Prophet ﷺ with many things that are mustahab for the Ummah. If you're going to be one of the inheritors of the Prophet, you have to take upon yourself many things which are mustahab as wajib. Praying witr, fasting, for example, not lying, not laughing too much, wearing loose clothes, nice, clean clothes, for example, not speaking in a vulgar manner, having nice friends, and so on and so forth. The way you talk, it has to be respectful. It shouldn't be, now that you're in the class of ulama, you shouldn't talk like the normal people, right? You should talk in a respectful manner. When you speak, people look up to you, right? You have to change your tone. You have to do tarbiyah of yourself upon this path. Okay. Now, كثرة التفات في الطريق. كثرة التفات في الطريق. So, iltifat refers to distracting, going from one side to another. That's right. So, in a broader context, it can imply being distracted or deviating from one's goals or purpose in life. It suggests a lack of focus and commitment to this path that you've chosen for yourself, or this path of ilm, okay, which can lead to, subhanAllah, losing sight of one's true objectives, which are to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, and you start to deviate from path to a path. You set on this journey, for example, to service the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, to serve Him as a true slave of His. But then you find that as soon as you get some acceptance in the people because of your ilm and your sincerity, people start calling you for business opportunities, to market their brand, right? So now you become a little celebrity, sort of, right? So then you start to experiment with ideas such as, what's wrong with me earning a little more money? I can use that money to then use it to serve my religion. Why not? What's so haram about it? If I really, so this is the starting point, right? You lose sight of your original objectives by when you indulge in things like that, right? You said that you will be from insha'Allah one of the du'at, for example, right? Then you start doing things such as engaging watching in films and movies, right? Anything that is a distraction from the path. طيب. And some of these things are essentially private. These could be sins, and it might not even be a sin, right? But when it becomes public, that you watch films or you watch movies, even if you then justify that the movies had no music or they had no women and all that stuff, you still have damaged your dignity to people and the dignity of the ilm, because it shows that you're not that patient, you're not that careful with this ilm, and you don't really hold it in that high regard. You're using the permissions of Islam to justify your tastes. Na'udhu billah. Then the Shaykh, so this is the more of a spiritual side of things, more of a psychological kind of things, psychological nullifiers of muru'ah, essentially. Mental things, metaphysical realities that if you indulge in them, definitely they're going to harm your muru'ah in the public. أو مد الرجلين في مجمع الناس. Now this is just a hint towards anything that people find disrespectful in the culture, in the urf of the nas. Now, for example, in some classes, in some cultures, when you're in a gathering, stretching your legs in a gathering, so stretching your legs when everyone else is cross-legged, for example, or they're sitting on the normally, right? This could be seen as impolite. So you should try to avoid anything that is from the general etiquettes of the mannerisms of the people, not specifically to do with Islam, but how a culture, for example, anything that Islam has not prohibited, nor has it made fard, right? Things which are from those things which Islam adopts wherever it goes. Islam went to Africa, it adopted its colors. Right? Islam went to India, it adopted its flavors and its language and whatnot. Islam adopts things which are not against it, and Allah is not obligated otherwise, for example, right? So amongst those things are sometimes cultural practices of people which are not against Islam. Islam wants us to continue practicing those things so that people are not so that things are not impolite for people, right? Allahu Akbar. So this is just a hint towards any behavior that is considered impolite or disrespectful in social settings. So, subhanAllah, this is something that we should keep in mind. Being a scholar is not an easy task. It's not as simple as being an academic in a university where your job is just to research a very narrow topic and then write a thesis at the end of it in a very, very spoon-fed manner, so to speak, and then you get a degree and then you're a scholar. Islam is not like that. Islam is, as we've learned, if we've learned anything up till this point, it's that Islam is not about the factual knowledge to begin with. It's about practice. It's about how you implement this knowledge, subhanAllah, right? So making sure that the way you express yourself in public with your body gestures, right, with your body movements, everything is accounted for. That you don't disrespect people unnecessarily. Certain things, like for example the British people, they don't like licking their plates after they've eaten. That is not something that, and this is something that's frowned upon. And they would like to eat with their knives and forks, right? But in Islam we are encouraged to eat with the hands. And then when you finish, you lick the fingers just to show the gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal to have provided you with the meal, and so you don't waste even a single bit. These are from the etiquettes of the Prophet. What do you do in this circumstance? Right? This is a question that you can answer as well from your mind. But as for me, alhamdulillah, I've always followed the sunnah, even if it's impolite for certain people. And then alhamdulillah, most of the time people ask you, why did you do that? And then you explain to them, this is the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so that gets them intrigued, and this becomes a form of da'wah, and then slowly people are interested to learn more about Islam, and so on and so forth. So it leads towards them learning more about Islam. Okay, things which are specifically characteristic of Islam, you never leave them. You never leave sunnahs of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like when I believe Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anh, when they were, I believe in Madain, when they conquered Persia, they were okay, I'm not too sure about this event. perhaps this occurred in Medina. But I'll narrate the other one, but that conveys the same meaning. I think so. One of the Jews, they mocked the Sahaba. Oh, your Prophet even teaches you how to go to the bathroom, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so the Sahabi, instead of taking let's say instead of taking that as a form of disrespect, he retorted back by saying, yes, the Prophet ﷺ teaches us from the smallest of things in our lives, because he is al-hadi, he's the guide of the ummah. He teaches us from the smallest of things that concern our lives, subhanallah. So you feel proud with these things, okay? But anything which are not from these characteristics, right, specific to the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal, you have to be considerate of the culture of the people as much as you can, inshallah. And so this is just an example to show that some certain things are not considered good by any culture, right? They'll just be from the universal ethics of human beings. But others, which are, if you are from a culture, you'll just have to understand your culture and keep that in mind. If you're not from a culture, if you're a foreigner, you're there for da'wah, even then you ask for people just to inform you about any things that people frown upon, so that you don't do them. Okay, I've seen multiple times ulama, when they come, they would, just as a form of caution, they would say, okay, I heard that the British people don't like to do this, and so X, Y, and Z things. The people will tell him, yes, this behavior is not the, and so the sheikh will be very, very careful as to avoid certain things, or saying certain things that might offend people, or so on and so forth. So this is the job of the da'i, the way he presents himself. And this shouldn't be done, anything of this nature shouldn't be done without any dire need. And lastly, the Shaykh, so after addressing the physical appearance and the psychological or the metaphysical aspect of your muru'ah, and then the way you present yourself from your physical behavior in the people, the Shaykh addresses the fourth point, which is your company. Your company shouldn't be of people which are frowned upon people generally in the Sharia and in the common society of human beings. People do not, in any culture, do not like people, or they don't look up towards people who are unworthy, who are open sinners, who are vulgar, right? Who are idle, inactive, negligent. People don't like those things, those people. Unless you're giving a group of such people da'wah, and you're not associating with them regularly, then that's a different thing. But you should avoid the suhbah of them. You should avoid their friendship and their company, so that people don't associate you with them. So it's because of your company that you're belittled. Okay, so you should avoid that. And then lastly, the Shaykh, by mentioning musara'at al-ahdath, so wrestling. Musara'a is to wrestle. Wrestling with al-ahdathi was-sighar. Al-ahdath can refer to events or circumstances. I refer to challenges, right? It can refer to trials, tribulations, situations, difficulties, anything of that nature. And when it's mentioned in contrast to as-sighar, ahdath would be big events, as-sighar would be the smaller events, minor issues. So wrestling, making yourself or putting yourself forth for every sort of quarrel amongst the people, infighting, dispute and chaos, and so on and so forth. Try to avoid and try to be a muslih. Try to be someone who tries to reconcile people, reconcile their disputes. He tries to bring the hearts together, and so on and so forth, as opposed to falling into that. And unfortunately, we're finding some examples in the masajid where people are indulged in these things. The masjid committee is, even though they are learned people, because of their personal egos, they're engaged in petty issues, which really has made people lose respect for them. And as a result, in the town I spent parts of my childhood in Bedford, the masjid that I used to go to, I'm not going to name the masjid, but the behavior from these people, the management and the people who were there, it caused the other party to build another masjid right across the street from them, right? And they're both calling themselves Ahlul Sunnah. And this party is not allowing this person to go to their masjid, and so they have to build their own masjid. And so it's just, and they're all involved in that, ma'adallah. And this definitely damages the repute and the image, okay, this muru'ah, essentially, this aura of a person in society. So the Shaykh essentially is guiding us step by step to perfecting the keys of knowledge, right? Mafatihul ilm. And these are the principles that we are all to follow, okay, inshallah. So having patience, as we studied in the previous chapters, and then adorning ourselves with the good characteristics of talib al-ilm. And then over here is to generally have an image or a presence of someone who values what they have learned, what they hold in their heart. They carry themselves with that knowledge. The way they carry themselves, it shows that this person is someone important. The way you walk, it shows the people the weight that you're carrying. When they look at you, they learn that this person is someone serious, right? Is not an ordinary man or a woman. They carry something with them that they really, really value, and to protect that, they have adopted a very, very noble personality, subhanallah, and that shows in their character. It shows it itself to the people, to the onlooker, and that it has an effect. It has a spiritual effect on the person. Definitely does, subhanallah. And this is one of the characteristics. If you read the biography that I shared with the students of Imam Ahmad, and many others, of course, but Imam Ahmad, like, he's one of those people. People have extensively written about his life, that he was a man of such aura, such muru'ah, subhanallah. Like, he wouldn't accept gifts from the Salatin, where some other ulama, they were lenient in this. He wouldn't accept gifts from them. He wouldn't wear their clothes. They wouldn't, when he was invited to the palace of the caliph as a form of apology from the caliphs for the torture they gave him and the torment that he suffered at their hands, he refused to even eat their food when he was there, subhanallah. And so these are some examples that we find in the lives of the ulama. Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, in one of his trips, he was on a ship traveling with some people to a destination where he was supposed to seek knowledge, and he had some money with him, and it was a lot of money. It was roughly around 2,000 dirhams, or then dinars, I think, 2,000 dinars roughly, I believe. And he happened to mention how much money he had through one of the conversations, and this man, he had some disease in his heart, so he started announcing it to the crew on the ship and the people on the ship, that his 2,000 dinars had been stolen. And of course, no one knew that Imam Bukhari was carrying that much cash. It was just himself that he knew, and he happened to tell this person. So if they had caught Imam Bukhari with that money, you can guess what would have happened, right? Only one thing would have happened, is that he would have been accused of stealing this person's money. So what would you have done in that circumstance? And then I'll tell you what Imam Bukhari did. What would you have done in that circumstance? Imam Bukhari was carrying a lot of money, okay? And he happened to tell this one person who was also on board on the ship that he was carrying this much money. And this person, sensing that there was so much money with Imam Bukhari, he decided to he made a plan that he will shout to the crew that his money was stolen. So when that money is found with Imam Bukhari, people will just snatch it from him, and Imam Bukhari would be accused, and the money would be given to this person. Okay, So this person, he made an announcement that his money was stolen. And of course it's a ship, so the thief can't really run away. He must be on the ship, right? So when Imam Bukhari heard that this person had done this act, what do you think Imam Bukhari did? Or what would you have done in that circumstance? Knowing that that money is all that you have, it's the only way that you're going to survive in the new country that you're traveling to. Any ideas? Subhanallah. Yes, he left in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal, but he did something else. He threw all that money into the sea. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he threw all that money into the sea. And the crew found nothing. And so when this man asked him about what he did with the money, because no one found it, he said he had thrown it into the sea. And so this man, of course, any normal man would give the reaction of, "Are you crazy? Why would you do that?" And so Imam Bukhari gave his rationale. He said that up till this point, I have been narrating a hadith. I'm a scholar of hadith. I'm a student of knowledge. And I carry this ilm with me, and people look up to me as someone who is trustworthy and truthful. If this incident had sort of gone through, and I was accused of this theft, then my character would have been defamed. My character would be thwarted, right? It'll be stained from this event. So he said that I essentially chose to protect his muru'ah, his trustworthiness, his character, over the money. Subhanallah. Okay, so the ulama, they have given a lot of sacrifices for protecting the ilm. The ilm is protected not just through memorizing it and understanding it, but it's protected in how we present ourselves, our characters. Our actions speak much, much louder than words. A person will not be affected by your words as much as they will be affected by your actions. Inshallah. And if you think that some people don't seem to, as I'm reading some of the questions, if you seem to think that some people are not being affected, then that's fine. خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَىٰ سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَىٰ أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Allah has placed a stamp. Allah has sealed their hearts. And Allah has sealed their hearts from seeing any good. And so they can't see anything. They can't hear anything. They can't, even though they have ears and they have eyes, but they have been blinded. They've been made dumb or they've been made deaf to the truth. Okay, so some people, nothing will help them, right? Inshallah. But those whom Allah Azza wa Jal wants to favor, your character and your actions will definitely speak a ton. They'll definitely affect them. I have never been impressed and affected as much as I have been affected by those people who carry themselves in the way that speaks for their knowledge before their knowledge speaks for themselves. Their actions, it shows on their limbs. I once, one of my foremost brothers and teachers in Tajdeed from Iraq, he's a scholar, mashallah, but he has not spent those years and years. He was a PhD in mechanical engineering, and the sheikh, the brother, I still remember, subhanallah, we stood next to each other in the prayer. I came before him and he came right after me. He stood on my left, and the imam was leading the prayer. And as I was praying, this brother was on my left. I felt something emanating from him, subhanallah. Like I could sense there was something about him, there was something emanating, sort of radiating from him, that I could sense in me. That this person is serious. Like he's not just praying. He's involved in something much more than what he seems. SubhanAllah. Right. So his khushu' had an effect on me, and SubhanAllah, very slowly, like we got to know each other, and we became very good friends. In fact, best friends over there when we were together. And I learned tajweed from him as well. And mashallah, he had ijaza in hadith from one of the Indian scholars that I later gained ijaza in as well. So my chain of narration sort of, it interacts with his chain of narration at some point in our history, in the history of the narration of Bukhari and so forth, and the other books of hadith. But just to show you the point that, people who are recipient, they're open to haqq, they're looking for haqq, who want to, they'll definitely feel this thing from others who carry themselves in that way. Okay, they carry themselves in a way that their ilm and their nur, it emanates from them. Like I just can't explain that feeling I had. I still remember that feeling. Like I can't see him, he can't see me. Our shoulders are touching each other, but I sense that this person is not another ordinary pan. When he's engaged in prayer, he's engaged in something much higher than anyone else who's present here. SubhanAllah. Like you can sense it. And you might feel this if you go into if you've had multiple encounters with ulama. Some ulama, like they're just a different class. When you're in their company, things are different. You look at them and you're reminded of Allah Azza wa Jal. And I truly believe this brother was from them. May Allah preserve him. Naam, inshallah. Khalas, so alhamdulillah, hopefully everyone is clear on the topic of today's lesson. Muru'ah is essentially, it's the most important thing that you can understand as talib al-ilm. It really speaks a ton about you. If you can master this, inshallah ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jal will honor Islam through you. Especially those who are in the field of da'wah, they should definitely work on their muru'ah. They should definitely work on the actions and the way they present themselves, the way they behave themselves in public, so that people get a good impression of Islam. They get a noble impression, an honorable impression of Islam from you as a person, as a da'i. You shouldn't be engaging in things which are looked down upon by the people. Okay, just to answer this last question before we end. How can one learn about the different things that people don't like when it comes to their culture or ethnicity? So this is, of course, living with the people, interacting with them. You can't learn this from a book. You can't learn this from just philosophizing in a closed room. You have to interact with people, and you have to understand, how people behave, what kind of things they don't like. The more you interact with people, the more you learn about them. Right? So it really comes with experience. But some things you learn. For example, I'm not sure how things are in Germany, but let me think of an example. I mean, even in the British culture, for example, just as an example, right? I mean, at least when I was there, I still remember people were not as open to like public display of affection, so PDA. They were not as recipient of that. The people looked down upon that, right? You guys can correct me, inshallah, if I'm wrong. But this is something I definitely grew up seeing, that even the British people, they did not. Of course, the younger generation was turning out a bit different. But I saw that the older generation, they were not as positive They were not as well receiving this public display of affection amongst the couples, for example, right, in the public. That's something that you observe, and okay, so you understand, okay, tayyib, this is something that the culture does not like, right? So when you're in public with your wife, for example, or your husband, you try to avoid things that people don't appreciate. For example, not that it's haram, right? But it's something that people do not like. Okay. For example, even in Pakistani culture, it's not something. I mean, people are becoming a bit shameless now, but but we've holding hands in public. Although it's becoming more and more common amongst the younger masses, it's not something that is it's something not appreciated. I would say. Okay, so the people they look down upon this kind of thing, right? And other things, right? So these are just an example. So the more you observe your culture, the more you'll understand its appeal. For example, when you go to someone's house, especially as Pakistani families, when you go to someone's house or you meet them and they offer you food and you don't eat it, well, you've just disrespected a Pakistani family. Pakistanis are they want to give you food. They love to feed people with their with their delicious food, and if you don't accept it, then it can be disheartening, and it can make them sad, right? So these are different aspects of different cultures. Okay, certain things, like when you go into a Japanese culture and they bow to give you respect, you don't do that because Islam considers that shirk, right? So you respectfully tell them. For example, some cultures will have you shaking hands with the opposite gender, right? And that is not acceptable in Islam, so you politely refuse. Okay, this is something that you'll just have to learn more about your culture by interacting with them. And there's definitely things that you've grown up observing. You know about those things anyway in your culture. It's just you have to be a bit more acknowledging of these things that they exist, and then inshallah either be polite and respectful about that, or reject it as un-Islamic, and then explain it to people if you have to, for example, ever encounter such a problem of explaining certain things which are contrary to the common culture. Hopefully, inshallah, that makes sense. وإياكم بارك الله فيكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.